We're not really giving ourselves a chance, it feels like. The whole vibe, I mean, we got a positive vibe, but it's just not there. The fire's not there, it seems like. I mean, you always want to have it, but, I mean, when you're out there and it's game time, it's just nothing there, it seems like. There's no hurrah, there's no campfire to go sit around and reminisce on things. We got to play every night. We got to go. So, we got to get done. There's no, hey, this is gonna make us click now. This is gonna do this now. I mean, we got to go. There's no time for that.
Absolutely gorgeous day in New York, out in Flushing. Night game to be had. Mets and Marlins on opposite sides. The Fish at 3-8. The Mets, winners of 6 straight, 8-3. Curtis Granderson, Daniel Murphy. The Metropolitans have won the first 2 of a 4-game set. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hunt. You just heard Giancarlo Stanton. That was after the ball game last night. What followed, Tommy, a closed-door players-only meeting. Obviously, the Marlins not real pleased at 3-8.
No, absolutely not. And I think sometimes meetings are called and they're well-planned. I think this was a well-planned meeting, and it was needed for this ball club.
On the other side, the Mets are pretty darn happy to be sitting at 8-3, and especially with this rotation. Here's what they've done in this 6-game streak.
I'll tell you what, when you have a 6-game streak, it coincides with guys that are hot. And they have Kadire on a 6-game hitting streak. Lucas Duda has gotten off to a tremendous start. But you see their overall numbers. Batting average is good. Their starting pitching has been tremendous. Overall, you see the ERA. I think they're really pleased at the work of their bullpen as well.
Starting pitching tonight, Matt Latos finally gets a game where, it won't go short because of his outing against Atlanta. No rain here either, so the Marlins are hopeful he can get to the 5th or the 6th.
Hey, no rain in the forecast. He's had good success, too, against the Mets. In his career, Matt Latos, 8 starts against New York, an ERA at 2.54.
Jacob deGrom, what a story last year. Only 22 starts, but the Rookie of the Year.
But guess what? He's had good success against the Marlins. 4 starts last year, 2-0, 1.67 ERA. Good pitching matchup tonight.
That's the matchup. It's Marlins and Mets. It's Latos against deGrom. Rare company for Giancarlo Stanton. You want streaks? How about home run streaks against the Mets? Stanton's got one going right now. Giancarlo Stanton making friends. The Marlins and the Mets. Game 3, 4-game set. Let's go down below. Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
Thanks, Rich. One guy that has had a hot bat lately has been Giancarlo Stanton. He hit a 2-run bomb on Thursday night that also happened to be number 155 in his career. That made him the Marlins' all-time leader in home runs. He surpassed Dan Uggla for that achievement. Then last night, he did it again with a solo shot to right center field in the first inning. It was also his 5th straight home run against the Mets, an accomplishment that places him in elite company. Only 2 other players have ever homered 5 straight times against New York. That would be Phillies slugger Ryan Howard and the legendary Hank Aaron. But once again, Stanton is not concerned with the accomplishment. His focus, Rich, is still on this team's record and turning things around.
Those are 3 pretty good home run hitters. Stanton takes a swing at trying to separate himself from those 2 guys. Won't be easy against the Rookie of the Year, Jacob deGrom. Matt Latos and Jacob deGrom, Marlins and Mets. Florida is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Citi Fields. Jacob deGrom climbs the mound, gets ready to face the Miami Marlins, and a full house is expected tonight. Marlins and Mets. And here come the fish. JM Lexus brings you the Marlins lineup. D. Gordon is at second base. Christian Yelich in the 2 spot. Giancarlo Stanton has homered in both games. Martin Prado has a home run in this series. Michael Morse at first. Marcell Ozuna back into the lineup. So is Jared Saltalamacchia. Adeiny Echeverria at short. And Matt Latos will hit 9th.
And there is a good look at the 26-year-old right-hander, Jacob deGrom. And because of his collegiate pitching, because he had some Tommy John surgery early in the minor leagues, Jacob deGrom only a year younger than Matt Latos, who he opposes tonight. Off to a good start this year, his first outing against the Marlins. The Marlins saw him a lot last year, and he was very good.
D. Gordon climbs in, and deGrom takes aim. A lot of those, a lot of fastballs, especially early. And a strike against D. Gordon.
It's one thing you're going to see. He's an aggressive pitcher. He goes right after hitters.
Gordon drops down a bunt. Left side, Campbell fields, throws, and he's safe. Duda had to come up off the bag to get the throw. A do-or-die play for Eric Campbell, the Mets third baseman. He released it in time. And Gordon flying down the line. Here's another look.
This is a terrific effort by Campbell at third base. The throw just a little off. The throw actually beat D. Gordon to the bag, but it looked like Duda had to come off the bag.
His foot came off the inside of the bag. Terry Collins comes out, and I think he's going to... Is he going to challenge? Yes, he is. Terry Collins is going to challenge this. Here's another look. The ball hits Gordon, and then the glove emerges from Gordon as the foot is off the bag. This is a
I wonder if he's challenging D. Gordon being inside, which he barely is. He's right on the line. Or
that's not reviewable.
And he's challenging if the throw beat him. Throw beat him, but it looks like as Duda goes to reach it. And this may be the first time we've ever seen a challenge on the first play of the game.
That's right. So the Mets are going to use the challenge. Chrysler brings you this challenge. Crowd is getting a look at a variety of angles.
Every Met on the field is standing, staring at the big screen in center field. See, the crowd sees that, they react, but they don't quite see the foot.
And the ball, here's another super slow-mo look. Watch and see if the ball settles in his glove while the foot is on the bag.
Boy, that's close. It doesn't look like it's in the back of the glove while his foot is still on the bag. This could be an inconclusive decision. Or they could overturn it.
Well, it's amazing. We've had 3 plays in this series. The Ichiro play at the plate, the Lagares catch last night, or even after watching 5-6 replays. The one thing they have in Major League Baseball's headquarters, the umpires that are watching this play, this year they have the ability to sync up all of the cameras. Marlins television, Mets television, in-house television, and there are Major League Baseball cameras in every park that we don't have that only they can see. That's the beacon that lines them up on the right. And so everything's synced. That way you can kind of put it together almost CSI Manhattan style.
You know, the thing I learned the other night that I did not know before is that when the umpires are standing there with the headsets on, they're not hearing a discussion as to, well, we think the ball was in the back, that was at the... They're not hearing any of that. They're only going to hear what the decision is.
Sometimes I believe they hear that ambient music like when you get in an elevator.
When you're waiting, when you're on wait time.
When you're on hold.
When you're calling Comcast.
Here's another look. Where did that come from? And you can see the ball. Boy, that's hard. I mean, it's in the glove. Is it settled in the glove? And here is the verdict. Safe. And I think that last year we were told on plays at first or any force play, the ball has to hit the back of the glove. That's when the umpire determines that it's in the glove.
And the call stands. So that's that was one of the main things we heard about the ball being in the back of the glove. And I think that was the issue right there. The review took almost 3 minutes. 2 minutes, 58 seconds.
And call stands means there was not enough evidence to overturn the call on the field. It's not the same as call was confirmed.
So now Terry Collins is out of challenges.
Yeah, it's an early challenge. And the Mets are at the mercy now of trying to get past the 7th inning. There's the challenge scoreboard. So Yelich now, and Gordon certainly a threat to run.
hits are tough to come by against DeGrom. And he chases Gordon back. Mets are on a big-time roll right now. They've won 6 straight. The last time a Mets team won 7 in a row was 2010 in June.
The other night, D. Gordon was thrown out by Travis d'Arnaud, the Met catcher. D stepping off a pretty good lead. When you get to that cutout, it should be about 13 feet, and you should be just a little bit beyond it. And that's a pretty good lead by D. Gordon. There are some ballparks it varies a little bit.
That's the science of base stealing. That and the time for pitcher to plate, catcher to second. And Yelich is in a good hitter's count right now. 1 for 8 in this series is Yelich. Stanton and Prado and Real Muto have done the most damage offensively in the series. Gordon not running. And Yelich takes down low. DeGrom has fallen behind 3-1.
Who knows? Maybe D. Gordon a little bothersome to Jacob DeGrom out there. I think another thing, Rich, and this is an intangible, you'll never know, but an almost 3-minute delay after a starting pitcher's gotten out there to start the game, he's ready, he's in a groove, all of a sudden a bunt base hit, now he has to stand there for 3 minutes.
He is allowed to throw.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. I mean, you're right. It totally disrupts the rhythm. Gordon is running, swing and a miss, throw down, double play. Wow. Just like that, the Mets get a pair of outs. Travis d'Arnaud, a strike to second, and he throws out D. Gordon.
Well, it's the second time in this series. High fastball, perfect pitch to come up and throw on. Second time d'Arnaud has gotten D. Gordon. Perfect throw to the second baseman, Daniel Murphy.
Now Stanton. And DeGrom throws a fastball for a strike. So a strike come out, throw him out, double play. Stanton, a pair of home runs in this series. 5 straight games with a home run against the Mets. Obviously going back into last year. Stanton, kind of a half swing, shoots it foul.
See the defense tonight for the Mets with Kadire in left, the Gold Glover. Boy, did he make some great plays last night. Juan Lagares, Curtis Granderson, Campbell, Flores, Murphy, and Duda. And d'Arnaud, you've already heard his name called.
BMW bringing the Mets defense. Stanton takes outside. And it's 1-2. Lagares was outstanding last night. And DeGrom strikes out Stanton. And the Marlins first fizzles after a leadoff hit by D. Gordon. The bat ready. He will lead it off for the Metropolitans. The Mets are 8-3, having won 6 straight. J.M. Lexus brings you their starting lineup. Granderson followed by Travis d'Arnaud. Lucas Duda, a very nice start. Michael Kadire has had a great series. Daniel Murphy at second base. Eric Campbell at third. Juan Lagares in center. Wilmer Flores is the shortstop. Jacob deGrom is in the 9 spot. And I think the Marlins and a lot of folks around baseball curious to see the Matt Latos start in this one.
Well, he's had a nice track record against the Mets in his career. ERA at 2.54 and 8 career starts. Talked to his pitching coach, Chuck Hernandez. He said fastball command. That's what Latos has been working on. That's what he needs in this one.
First pitch, a strike to Curtis Granderson. Such an odd way to start the season for Latos, who's been quite successful in his career. In the air to left, Yelich should have plenty of room. And he makes the catch. BMW brings you the defense for Miami.
Well, you know that Christian Yelich, the Gold Glovers in left, Ozuna in the lineup in center, and Giancarlo the right fielder, Prado, Echeverria, D. Gordon, Michael Morse, and Salta Lamacchia is behind the plate. I think the amazing thing, the one thing, Rich, that stood out to me about looking at Matt Latos and his numbers, pitching against Jacob deGrom. Matt Latos has won 60 games as a major leaguer. deGrom has won 10. And Latos just a year older than Jacob deGrom.
Travis d'Arnaud takes ball 1. Latos at 27. Coconut Creek High School, Broward Community College, 11th round pick of the San Diego Padres. Into the corner. Stanton ventures there and makes the catch. And there are 2 outs. Here comes Lucas Duda. Yeah, Latos started winning right away. When he got to San Diego, he spent 3 years in San Diego with an ERA 3.37. 3 years in Cincinnati, he was 33-16 as a Red. And impressively, with half his games in that ballpark, a great hitter's park, he had a 3.31 ERA.
And if you're wondering, so far so good. Some pinpoint fastballs. Good stuff by Matt Latos. And if you're wondering about the state of the bullpen, I believe only Sam Dyson is not available this evening. He's been pretty busy.
Breaking ball, that's laced into the corner, and that's a fair ball. Stanton picks it out of the corner. Duda on his way to second. And he's got a double. Boy, Lucas Duda is raking right now. 4th in the National League in hitting.
And hitting with some production. That's his 7th double. Ties him with Troy Tulowitzki, 2nd in the league. We talked about how he's been hitting left-handers. 30 home runs last year, and it looks like Lucas Duda is really starting to figure it out.
Out west, both Adrian Gonzalez and Troy Tulowitzki are out of the gates quickly. Tulowitzki healthy has made a big difference with the Rockies. So here's Kadire, who has piled nice at bat after nice at bat on top of each other in the 2 games of this series. Six-game hit streak, 3 RBIs in the first 2 games against Miami. And swings and misses. It's 1-1.
Yeah, and you go back to his career against the Marlins, and Kadire has an 11-game streak, 11 straight against Miami. Off to a good start, but the one number that stands out, he has struck out 15 times this year.
Latos has that over the top, not Josh Coleman, not to that extent, but still over the top. Chuck Hernandez with a watchful eye in the dugout.
Who, by the way, Cole Mentor pitched the first complete game in the major leagues last night with the Diamondbacks. There was a time it didn't take 2 weeks for that to happen.
One, two. Outside corner, struck him out. Gary Cedarstrom rings him up. Matt Latos looks sharp. Miami and New York underway. And scores. And Jacob deGrom dueling. 10-game mini plans on sale. 10-game mini plans start as low as $240 with tickets to some of the season's biggest games at Marlins Park. Quantities are limited, so secure your 10-game plan today. 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/2015 tickets. Martin Prado in the box. Jacob deGrom delivers. And he zips one outside. They count as 1-0. Prado 4 for 8 with a home run in this series. Michael Morse, Marcell Ozuna follow in the second.
Well, a lot of pine tar. Martin Prado likes to load on that bat, and you can see the remnants of the pine tar on the shoulder up there in the jersey.
And if he needs a little extra, all he does is put his hand up on the helmet. It's a handy, rather than bring the whole pine tar rag to the plate, that's a quick way to access it. Two balls, 2 strikes. Struck him out. Gary Cedarstrom now draws the ire of Martin Prado.
And rightfully so. It looked like a slider that backed up. It never slid. It never came over the inside corner. It stayed inside. Or he might have just turned it over. A little two-seamer he turned over. But it was off the plate. And Prado has an argument.
Cedarstrom, who rung up Kadire on a pitch that looked like it was just off the plate, gave Latos one corner, gives deGrom the other corner. Mike Morse rolls out to Wilmer Flores.
So far, Jacob deGrom living up to what he does, going after hitters, a lot of strikes. He had a game last year that he started against the Marlins. He struck out the first 8 batters of the game. There you go, the scouting report. He pounds his zone, mixes 3 pitches in his repertoire, and he'll elevate his fastball occasionally with 2 strikes.
That was quite a ride. 8 strikeouts to open the game. Tied a modern day record. Jim Deshaies is the only other pitcher to accomplish that. Deshaies is now the partner of your old partner, Len Casper, in Chicago.
Describing the rookie Chris Bryant.
Ozuna into the bat, trickles out to Duda, who gets to the bag, and deGrom has faced the minimum through his 2 innings.
Well, we talked, Rich, at the beginning of the game. Fastball command. And how about the first inning? Perfectly placed fastball to Granderson. Another one on the outer part of the plate to Lucas Duda. And then a strikeout again on the corner to Michael Kadire. And look at that over-the-top delivery. First inning, good fastball command. That delivery's right there.
That's an over-the-top delivery and an over-the-top shot above the mound. So here is Murphy with Eric Campbell and Juan Lagares. For Latos, that's got to feel pretty good to get in there, get that first inning out of the way. Roller up the middle. Gordon backhands. Fires the first in time. Out number 1. We check in with Jessica Blaylock.
Rich, we know that baseball can be a very superstitious sport, and that is true for Matt Latos. He told me that there is one thing that he never does the day before he pitches. He never gets a haircut. He did it one time against San Diego. He ended up giving 9 runs up in that outing. He also got a haircut the day before he made his first start for the Marlins, and we know how that went. He didn't even get out of the first inning, ended up giving 7 runs up in that one. So no haircuts the day before he pitches for Matt Latos.
Ah, interesting. That fastball misses outside. Tommy, he does have another superstition that he does before every start on the back of the mound.
Writes the initials of his grandfather on the back of the mound. And I believe in one of his tattoos is also initials of his grandfather.
Eric Campbell. And he takes a strike. The Counts 2-1. Campbell getting the start at third, and he'll be there at least for another couple weeks. David Wright rehabs the hamstring. Mets are hoping that it's not as severe as hamstring injuries in Wright's past. That is by Echeverria into left field. A base hit for Eric Campbell. Mets have another base runner. Tune in tomorrow at noon. Fox Sports Florida's new show, Marlins Clubhouse, is hosted by our very own Preston Wilson, former Marlin outfielder, of course, son of Met legend Mookie Wilson. Preston grew up not here at Citi Field, but in and around Shea Stadium, much like Craig Minervini. So for those two back in our studio, this is a series with some significance.
Preston had better access, though.
That's true. Here is Lagares. He takes a strike. Juan Lagares, 2 for 7 with a walk, but it's not been his bat that has been a factor. Last night it was his glove. Made some tremendous catches, some going out and some going in. Runner goes, break is good, and a head-first slide for Campbell. It's one thing that's happened to the Marlins a little too much this season, and that is giving up stolen bases to guys who normally don't steal bases.
Yeah, you don't expect an Eric Campbell, but he got an unbelievable jump. And it's one thing also to have Terry Collins know that his guys are aggressive, and giving a guy like Campbell to get the green light. Go ahead and go.
Little looper, that's going to fall in, a base hit. Campbell round third, Ozuna up with it, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. And once again, as we've seen with Atlanta, with the Rays, the Marlins have seen it here against the Mets. Teams doing a little thing, stealing a base from a guy that doesn't normally steal a base, leads to a run.
Slider kind of backed up and staying inside it pretty well on the base hit was Juan Lagares, who has a 6-game hitting streak. All of a sudden he's caught fire a little bit, and being in scoring position after the steal, Campbell's able to come in and give the Mets a lead.
Here now is Wilmer Flores.
You would think, Rich, if Eric Campbell's going to take off and steal, you might have to keep your eye on Juan Lagares as well.
And you would think that if guys like you and I notice that trend, advanced scouts know it as well. Whether it's Bethencourt, Mayberry, Campbell, guys that don't normally steal bases, not only are stealing bases against Miami, but getting enormous jumps in the process. Matt Latos gets a strike, and it's 0-1.
And a lot of it is just a couple of looks. We've pointed out before that Latos, for a big guy at 6'6", generally is fairly quick. He slide steps a little bit to the plate, doesn't lift that leg real high. But part of it is giving the runner a couple of looks. Just change it up, just like that. That's all right.
I mean, it falls upon just about everybody, from your first baseman, from your middle infielders, even your bench players, to keep a close eye. Flores fouls it at the plate.
To do what he just did, come set, maybe set a little longer than normal. So it's just a matter of changing things up, and so far after that stolen base, Latos has done that.
Mets have a run. Lagares at first. Flores swings and misses. And a slow breaking ball. 2 outs. Here comes DeGrom. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in 84. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. DeGrom, a shortstop at Stetson. Pitched a little bit, but not a whole lot early in his career.
He didn't pitch, Rich, until his junior year. Started 28 games at short in 08 as a freshman, 36 games start in 09 as a sophomore, and then he closed out some games. He was a closer a little bit, started 12 games, but also played shortstop that junior year. So he was busy.
Fouls it off. I had a chance to talk with him yesterday. He said nobody told him, but when he showed up for summer ball between his sophomore and junior year, the coach that he was playing for said, all right, and kind of stuck him on the bench, and he wasn't getting any starts, and he asked him, hey, how come I'm not getting any at-bats? He said, oh, well, I thought you were here to pitch. Runner goes, and a liner to Morse, who snares it and steps on the bag. And the inning is over, but the Mets manufacture another run. Lead it 1-0. Friday is a Marlins Flashback Friday brought to you by Jeep. Tune in every Friday. Post the best vintage Marlins photo of yourself and just use the hashtag FlashbackMarlins. Just like that, they are selecting the best vintage photo of themselves.
Well, we've seen a red-orange cap. We've seen the black Marlins cap.
She has the red-orange phone cover on the left.
Some serious texting going on there.
And they're texting each other, actually. And some big beers there as well. Jared Saltalamacchia takes a strike. Gary Cederstrom has a bit of a delay between calling the pitch and raising that right hand.
A little Tim McClellan-like.
Who has retired.
Yeah. So maybe Gary Cederstrom figured he'd take the torch from McClellan. It's been passed. It's a delayed torch.
Saltalamacchia getting the start. JT Realmuto started the first 2 games of the series.
See if DeGrom goes up with a fastball, climbs the ladder a little bit.
timed here. And DeGrom strikes out Saltalamacchia. You can see Darno with the glove up. And anytime the glove goes up, that's a fastball.
Well, we told you about it in the scouting report. With 2 strikes, he likes to climb the ladder. He'll go up with that fastball. And the other part to that is that a lot of pitchers like to pitch Salty up in that area as well.
95 miles an hour for DeGrom out of Stetson University.
I'm just thinking he must have had some kind of gun from shortstop.
Absolutely. And you know, the funny thing was, when he started to pitch in college, he had more of a sidearm delivery, and he hurt his arm with Tommy John surgery to follow after he signed with the Mets.
Yeah, early in his minor league career with the Mets is when he had the Tommy John, I believe in 2009.
And Chavarria standing. And people talk about DeGrom's release point and his arm slot being perfect right now with great movement. And DeGrom said that he got that arm slot through rehab, because after he injured his arm, during his rehab, one of the doctors suggested, hey, you might want to bring your elbow up at least level with, maybe over your shoulder. So he went from a sidearm guy to a 3/4 slot guy. And from that point on, boy, it was on.
Which kind of goes along with the rehab of Jose Fernandez. We're told all the time, because his mechanics from day one have been so good, his arm slot and everything, that's why the rehab's gone so well. And by the way, it was 2010 that DeGrom had the Tommy John. He missed all of 11.
Latos on deck. Full count to Echeverria. Lines it into right field. The base hit. Danny Echeverria, Miami's second hit. And Latos will come to the plate. He'll probably try to sacrifice Echeverria to second.
Well, Matt Latos, second AB in Atlanta. He dropped down a nice sacrifice bunt.
The other thing about DeGrom, as a former shortstop, he fields his position quite well. Good feet, good hands. So the bunt has to be a good one here. Latos squares early. And a strike. There's the bunt. And Duda gets him. Echeverria arrives at second safely, and it's up for D. Gordon now, who had a bunt hit back in the first.
I'll tell you what, we've seen Matt Latos drop down some really nice bunts, and he shows that he really knows what he's doing when he's asked to bunt. There's Duda, there goes Echeverria. If you have some speed and you can time it right, and you see that first baseman leave soon the way Duda does, you can take off. We'll have to watch that as the game goes on.
Well, the speed would come in handy here because Gordon's up and the outfield is not real deep, especially Kadire in left. Gordon swings through a breaking ball.
D. Gordon now has been on base 10 of the 12 games the Marlins have played.
Pitches in. We check in with Jessica.
Rich, you mentioned this the other night. D. Gordon just lights up when he talks about his brother Nick, who plays for the Twins. D told me with a huge smile on his face, that kid can go deep. He's going to hit 20 home runs one day. I did ask D, though, who's faster? And he said, me. Nick knows better than to race me.
Echeverria, a good-sized lead, and DeGrom will step off. Yeah, his brother, probably a little more baseball experienced than D was when D signed his professional contract. D, a basketball player until his junior year in high school. Did not offer it a fastball that rides away, and it's 2-1. not a bad pitch. You can see it caught part of the plate and was at the letters. Changeup, and Gordon fights it off. The count's 2-2.
Nick Gordon playing for the Cedar Rapids Colonels, the Minnesota Twins low A club. After 8 games, hitting .313, a couple of triples, and his 8 RBIs.
Any stolen bases?
No stolen bases.
Jessica was right. 2-2. Gordon lashes it down the line, and it's into the seats. So you've got 2 pitchers who hail from the state of Florida, DeGrom and Latos. Tomorrow, Tom Kohler and Matt Harvey, 2 pitchers who hail from the Northeast. Harvey, a Connecticut guy. Kohler, of course, a New York guy. Gordon, a little tapper over the middle. Flores gathers. He is out. The throw comes home. Echeverria slides. The Marlins may challenge it. Mike Redmond is out of the dugout. He will buy some time. The Marlins will look at it. Gordon, as he crossed the bag, signaled safe. Echeverria came home. Now the Mets threw home, but once the play was called out, everything freezes. And so right now it's not only wait. Here's a look. Back of glove.
Wow. How about both challenges tonight have involved D. Gordon? That's what speed can do.
Yeah, and both challenges may come down to back of the glove. Remember the ball that
Which from that angle, it didn't look like the ball was quite in the back of the glove when D touched the bag.
All right, there are 2 parts to this. This is the first part. That's the first part. Safe or out. If he's safe, the next part is, where will you put Echeverria? My guess is back at third.
I would guess that because the theory would be, even though Echeverria never stopped, there was hesitation, obviously, in Duda's part because he thought it was the final out of the inning.
And the throw to the plate looked like it beat him. Chrysler getting their money's worth in this series. They had a long review with the Ichiro play. The call on the field is out at first. And again, as we explained, it's back of the glove on a force play. And this one is in the hands of the replay officials. I'll tell you what, on all the reviews in this series, I don't know about you, but I really haven't had a feeling one way or the other on any of them.
They have been that close. They have been the one on Ichiro at the plate. Even the fly ball last night that wasn't reviewed, that was caught. And I talked to Pat Shine today, Marlins review coordinator. Said he had 6 views of it and they were all caught. But this is the same as the one in the first inning on the bunt by D. Gordon.
I'll tell you one thing, just watching the replay, and again you're looking for ball in back of glove. I think if Lucas Duda had to do it over again, he may have stretched out a little more to get the throw. I know he stretched at the very end.
When the crowd watches it on the giant screen, I'm not sure they're aware of the back of the glove part of it. But remember, the challenge and the review in the first inning was 2 minutes and 58 seconds, almost 3 minutes. This one's in that area as well, maybe over.
Last year, Mike Redmond and his staff were second best in baseball on the percentage of challenges won. So the Marlins were very good at this last year. DeGrom, meanwhile, you can hear the pop of the glove in the background. There's DeGrom. He's throwing right now. He's trying to stay heated up. Christian Yelich is scheduled as the next hitter. And it looks like they've rendered their decision. He's safe. So it's back to the glove again. Twice now with Gordon running to first. And they're going to put Echeverria back at third base. Marlins want the run, but the umpires are putting him back at third base. Mike Redmond's not happy. Major League Baseball has a camera in every ballpark that shoots the entire field for this very reason. They sync the cameras. Here's our sync from the truck. Here's Echeverria. He's going the whole way, but the play's dead at that point. The throw beats him. And unless the runner is going to score, obviously, they'll put the runner back.
Yeah, as much as you want that run, you understand why they did what they did, and that review took 3 minutes and 17 seconds.
And the umpires in New York see that from an overhead camera. They have a clear look at where the runner was. If the runner had not been called out, Duda probably would have acted quicker at first, and the throw would have beat him by even more. All of that being said, here's Yelich on a first and third spot with 2 outs. Big moment here early on.
You remember Yelich struck out his first time up. This is amazing. This has not been a good place for Christian Yelich to hit. His career numbers at Citi Field, he's about a 160 hitter.
Well, you've got speed at both bags from first and over at third. More speed at first with Gordon. Having first base open for Yelich. Although Yelich does a lot of his damage up the middle and to the left side of the infield. DeGrom misses with a changeup 1-1.
Down the road, I think it's one thing you'd like to see more of in Christian Yelich, and that is turning on a few more balls. At times, and right now he's in a bit of a struggle. At times it appears he feels for the ball and just thinks left center, as opposed to thinking hole on the right side, maybe getting a pitch to turn on, and finding that right center field gap a few times.
Two. Yelich struck out into a double play. Travis d'Arnaud threw a bullet that got Gordon at second, and that sunk the Marlins in the first. Stanton's on deck. 2-2 to Yelich. Got him. Same pitch. High fastball. It got him in the first, and it gets him here in the third. And DeGrom holds on to a 1-0 lead. That X means the Mets lost their first challenge and thus do not have another challenge. Umpires take over in the 7th inning. Marlins, green means go. They won their challenge. They'll get a second if they need one. Terry Collins and the Mets have a 1-0 lead against Matt Latos and the Fish. Curtis Granderson, Travis d'Arnaud, and Lucas Duda. Granderson, a rough start. He's hitting just 143. Good changeup by Latos.
And he is hitless in this series. 0 for 8 in the series. An aggressive hitter. That's why that changeup was so effective.
Gordon on the outfield grass. Fires to first in time to get the outs. 1 out. Your child's birthday party at Marlins Park could be an all-new celebration club party or a sea creature birthday bash. An inclusive food package that comes with birthday cupcakes for everyone. And Tommy, who doesn't love cupcakes? Parties are available for groups of 20 or more. Marlins.com/groups 1877 Marlins.
What's the famous cupcake place?
Oh, Magnolia.
Magnolia. Yeah, I walked right by it today. Boy, I had to turn the other way, too.
Magnolia Bakery.
Man, they smell good.
They are. Travis d'Arnaud has flied out. Second time through for the Mets. New York got a run in the second. A single and a stolen base by Eric Campbell. Juan Lagares dumping a single into center. That ball's well hit. Left field, not coming back. It's gone in a hurry. Travis d'Arnaud is having a great 2 weeks of 2015 to open the season.
Well, it's his first home run of the year, but he's been productive. He's had RBIs now in 8 of 10 games, so he's been producing. He's thrown D. Gordon out a couple of times, so he's done a nice job behind the plate. And that one was a rocket. Would have been out here before they did anything to the fences.
And so d'Arnaud gives New York a 2-0 lead, and here is Lucas Duda.
Short-changing Travis d'Arnaud. That was home run number 2 on the year. Either way, he's been productive.
Count 1 ball, 1 strike. Duda double back in the first. 7 doubles already for Lucas Duda. And he swings and misses and strikes out. 2 outs. And here comes Michael Kadire.
We've seen Matt Latos use that fastball, the breaking ball right there. Gets a hot hitter in Lucas Duda.
Kadire called out on strikes back in the first. where the Mets look like a confident team. They've played well defensively in this series. Terry Collins' teams always play hard, but they've executed offensively as well. Being able to get runners on, steal a base, move them over, get them in, whether it's a sacrifice fly. Even Bartolo Colon got in on the act with a sacrifice fly yesterday.
Yeah, much to the delight of over 38,000 last night. And the Mets know they're going to always, for the most part, be in games with the starting pitching that they can run out there.
There's Cologne. Matt Harvey tomorrow. Doesn't quite get to the plate. And we talked about it last night, Tommy. You get a sense watching the Marlins Braves both series, the Marlins Rays series, and then this Mets Marlins series, that little ball is back in the game, and if you're not able to do it, you might be in trouble. Now the Marlins have the pieces to do it, certainly with speed, Gordon and Yelich at the top, Thunder with Stanton and Morse, a guy who can control the bat like Prado.
That was one of the objectives when the Marlins put this club together.
Swinging a foul tip held by Saltalamacchia. But the Mets get another. Travis d'Arnaud, a rocket to left. It's 2-0.
Well, in the scouting report, we told you that he likes to go upstairs with 2 strikes. There's 1 strikeout. Saltalamacchia up with the fastball. He climbs the ladder. With 3 of those strikeouts, fastballs up. Our Rand-Eye Vision Cam gives you those good shots.
Giancarlo Stanton, Martin Prado, and Michael Morse. Stanton got jammed, flips that down the right field line, and Granderson makes a running catch. The Marlins have not won a game in this series. The Mets have won the first 2. The only thing the Marlins have won are 2 challenges today. The Marlins won their challenge. The Mets lost theirs. And Major League Baseball sends us a capsule in an email just describing the play. And there's some interesting stuff on both of the plays. The most recent of which was the bang-bang play at first on the Gordon ground ball over the middle with Echeverria rounding third. And they determined that the base runner's foot got to the bag before the ball contacted the interior of the fielder's glove, which is back of the glove. As well, they also determined to place the runner who was originally at second back to third, determining that the incorrect call affected the subsequent behavior of the defensive players.
And that makes sense.
That one fouled back and out of play. Also, going back to the first one, which is the D. Gordon bunt, the replay official saw that Duda did not demonstrate complete control, firm and secure possession of the ball throughout the catch. He only got secure possession after the runner had contacted the base. See, I think we need a much more official voice. We need to hire someone with like a British accent.
Yeah, to read those, like they have the guy come out and read the golf rules.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, of course, a guy from Britain might not be that believable in baseball.
All right. How about Australia? I mean, just get some official language. Michael Morse.
In the meantime, Jacob deGrom continues to dazzle.
Yes, he has. Miami has 3 hits. Gordon's 2 infield hits. One of those a bunt single, and then Echeverria's line drive to right. D. Gordon has 2 hits by a whisker. I mean, he very easily could be 0 for 2. Morse battling deGrom, and it's 1-2.
Well, he's done his part. That's been part of the frustration this year. He has been on base 10 of the 12 games. He's had stolen bases.
Pitch is out.
But the Marlins have had trouble bringing him home.
Outside corner. Delayed reaction. Jacob deGrom is shutting out the Marlins. And the Mets lead it 2-0. Visit your South Florida Chevy dealers today. By Checkers. Get Checkers authentic Philly cheesesteak. Try the new meatball sub. Pick yours. 2 for $5. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Two nothing. The Mets on top of the Marlins. Matt Latos gave up a run in the second on an RBI single by Juan Legares. And a solo homer by Travis d'Arnaud in the third.
Like Murphy noticed some debris, I think out in left center. Talking to Gary Cederstrom about it.
A couple of hot dog boxes have escaped from the Party City deck.
Cederstrom may have said something like, hit one out there and then we'll worry about it. But they're underneath the padding.
You know, it occurs to me that the first few years we came in here that the Great Wall of Flushing was sort of the Wailing Wall. You know, too deep, too big. And now they've turned it into one of the happier places in Flushing, right?
It's a happy place.
It is. It's the Party City deck.
And all the home runs seem to be going over it now.
Carlos Stanton makes the catch. And there's an out. Every weeknight, don't miss Major League Baseball Whip Around. Fox Sports 1 highlights, instant analysis, live look-ins. Weeknight 7 Eastern. Fox Sports 1 streaming live. Fox Sports Go.
That's good. You took me to a happy place.
The Whip Around or the Party City deck?
The Whip Around.
Okay. Find a happy place. For Marlins fans right now, it's been a challenge.
It has not been easy.
Campbell with the single, and what happened after that, a stolen base, kind of a surprise attack, not a guy that shows up as blazing speed, but the Marlins didn't pay a whole lot of attention. He got a great jump and it paid off when Juan Legares dumped one into center for a hit, and the Mets had a 1-0 start. They added to it with the d'Arnaud homer.
A little up with that breaking ball, but Matt Latos has had much better command tonight. We talked about that the onset of the game. Fastball command, one of the keys to his success. And he really, I thought, took one for the team in Atlanta. Coming back after an almost 40-minute rain delay because of the state of the bullpen at the time.
And after the game, Latos, when asked, did it affect you? And he gave up the runs after he came back, you remember, from that rain delay. Latos didn't want to hear any of it. He said Shelby Miller had to deal with the same stuff. Walk to Campbell. Tomorrow the series concludes, and your South Florida Honda dealers get you ready with Marlins Live. The Dark Knight of Gotham. Matt Harvey makes start number 3.
Matt Harvey, in his 4 starts against the Marlins, is 0-1. He's yet to defeat the Fish. ERA at 3.52. A little more attention to Eric Campbell is being paid to him by Matt Latos now.
Mets in a perfect spot here if they want to hit and run as well. It's funny, you know, the last 4 years we've watched Terry Collins do whatever he can to construct runs with a roster and a lineup that wasn't complete.
Yeah, this is the first time in those years that he's had a better roster.
And so now, doing those types of things, the things that we've seen in the first 2 games, kind of comes naturally to this bunch, doesn't it?
Well, and think about it too. This series and for a few more, he's going to be doing it without his captain, without David Wright. Michael Kadire told me the other day that it's a group that really is starting to remind him of some of the early years of those Minnesota Twins teams that he was on.
They did a lot of little things right.
Yeah.
Broken bat, and there's another flare that's going to drop for Lagares. And the Mets have runners first and second and 1 out.
Pretty good pitch by Matt Latos. Breaking ball away. You heard the bat shatter, but Lagares just found the right spot. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
So Wilmer Flores is up. Now DeGrom is on deck. Got pretty good speed with the trail runner in Lagares. Campbell's at second. One and 0 in the East National League. Phillies beat the Nationals 5-3. The Atlanta Braves lost in extras in Toronto 6-5. Ground ball short. Wicked hop off of Echeverria. Campbell stops at third. It's going to be a base hit, a bad hop hit, and the bags are loaded for DeGrom.
Boy, I tell you, this is how things have been going. This is double play ball all the way, and it takes that nasty hop, comes up on Echeverria, a base hit, and everybody's safe. As soon as he hit it, you're thinking 2. Look how that ball comes up. Etch gets the heel of his glove on it, and that's about it.
And so here's DeGrom, the former college infielder turned pitcher, who turned on one and lined out to Morse his first time up. And there's no place to put him. The count 1-0.
You can tell too by the way he swung the bat in that second inning in his at bat that he knows how to handle the bat a little bit. Came into this game 10 for 50.
Big swing, third base side and out of play. Well, the way DeGrom is throwing today, if the Mets were to add on here, that's real trouble for Miami. DeGrom has struck out 6 in 4 innings and has not walked a hitter. Latos has 4 strikeouts and a walk. Bases filled with Mets. Over 38,000 were in here last night, and I would say about the same, maybe more.
I would say a little bit more tonight.
A big house, fireworks after. I'd like to see some here. DeGrom back to the mound. Latos to the plate. There's one. Saltalamacchia in the dirt, and Morse digs it out. And the Marlins get the double play. 1, 2, 3. The Mets retired in the 4th. 4 innings have passed in New York. The Mets have a 2-0 lead. Clean, crisp Coors Lights. Or have just a regular Coors banquet moment. 2014 Gold Glove. Last night, it was a timely night to get the Gold Glove because then he would go out and dominate with that glove.
You know, he's a converted shortstop, is Juan Lagares, and he's gotten a lot of help adjusting to the major leagues from a good friend and another pretty good center fielder, Carlos Gomez, with the Brewers, who at one time was a Met. And he had a lot to do with the ball game last night.
Marcell Ozuna, Jared Saltalamacchia, and Adeiny Echeverria. And a strike. It's 1-1. Ozuna bounced to first. The hits for the Marlins: a bunt single by D. Gordon, an infield hit by Gordon in the third, and Echeverria's line drive base hit to right. The Marlins' best threat was in the third. DeGrom struck out Christian Yelich for the second time tonight to end that threat.
It's one of those matchups Christian Yelich is going to have to make an adjustment to his next time up if he faces DeGrom.
Oh, man. When he elevates that fastball at 95, nobody is catching up to it right now.
Most of his strikeouts, and he has 7 now, most have been on that elevated fastball.
The shift is on for Saltalamacchia. He went after a high fastball and struck out in the third. You know, Tommy, when DeGrom made the shift and started to pitch his junior year at Stetson, as you noted, he started to close games, and he started a few, and he said nobody really noticed him until one game, and he started against Florida Gulf Coast. All the scouts were there to see Chris Sale.
Probably a midweek game.
Chris Sale was pitching, obviously, of the White Sox, a terrific pitcher himself. And after the game the next day, DeGrom said he came to practice, went to his locker, and his locker was filled with letters.
Well, he was 4-5 and had a 4.48 ERA that junior year with a couple of saves.
Those letters were from scouts.
Yeah.
Said scouts
That
generally,
happens so often.
Generally, when scouts first make contact, the first thing you get is a questionnaire.
That's why you always want to tell kids it doesn't matter who is there, but always just go out there, play your best, play hard, because you never know who's going to be watching. And just as the story you pointed out, that scout could be there watching somebody else.
And here comes Echeverria. And if you think that Stetson University isn't a household name as far as college baseball or professional baseball,
yeah,
they've got 3 guys in the big leagues right now who are doing quite well. Corey Kluber, the American League Cy Young Award winner, guy who almost won a batting title 2 years ago for the Atlanta Braves, Chris Johnson, and Jacob DeGrom, Rookie of the Year in the National League. That's pretty good.
Boy, think about some of the talent in the schools in Florida. You're just talking about Stetson, which isn't even considered one of the big 3. You know, Florida, Florida State, Miami. You've got Central Florida. You got FAU. You've got South Florida, University of Tampa.
DeGrom has been masterful tonight. 5 shutout innings. The Grominator. Well, a sellout crowd and a long line for Shake Shack. But you know what? It's worth it. Fish Family, the exclusive loyalty program for Marlins fans. All Marlins season ticket holders automatically enrolled to earn points and rewards. Fish Family offers opportunities to earn bucket list Marlins moments and rewards like never before. You've already earned the points. Now use them at marlins.com/fishfamily. Met fans are so fired up right now that this city has been abuzz. This ball club is 8-3. They've won 6 in a row. And they have not only a 2-0 lead, but their Rookie of the Year is in fine form, Jacob DeGrom. This is Curtis Granderson, top of the order.
Yeah, think about it. The Marlins saw Dylan G, saw Bartolo Colon. DeGrom, they will not see the left-hander who they've seen a lot over the years, Jonathan Neese, and they'll see Matt Harvey tomorrow.
Granderson diving stop Gordon. Nice play. I know his dad's nickname was Flash.
There's Flash Jr. showing it right there. Flash a little leather. Little leather, little extension for Flash Jr.
It's funny, his dad's nickname was Flash, but I could just remember he had the nastiest 12-6 curveball.
And he'd ride that fastball up high too,
right, and
climb the ladder, then drop that hammer, that curveball. And Tom Gordon, not a big guy. Tom probably 5'10", 5'11".
Here's Travis d'Arnaud, who pumped a home run into the seats and left. A solo shot. That was back in the third.
You know, there were 4 other times in Mets history that they started 8-3. And I think the reason Met fans are starting to get excited, one of those years was '86.
Met fans starting the wave. They did a little of that back in '86. Three and one. Now you can debate the wave as to whether you like it or not. But this is a pretty impressive one here. Saltalamacchia throws to first. Morse snatches it and holds it. And d'Arnaud is out. 2 down. This is the Geico Marlins moments. In 2000, the Marlins tied a club record. 8 players had 2 hits each. A 12-5 win over the Pirates. Tommy Hutton was there to call that game. It's funny, one of my first baseball assignments for ESPN was a Marlins Pirates game.
Maybe it was that one.
It may have been. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I believe the Pirates won that game, but I remember meeting you.
Was I nice?
You were very nice.
Okay.
The Pirates announcers were as well. I was wet behind the ears and just wanted to know.
That'd have been terrible if I'd have been trash talking you.
Yeah, it's like, why that Tommy Hutton? Pitch misses down low. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Matt Latos facing Lucas Duda, who has doubled and struck out.
Yeah, he talked to those who have followed the Mets and Duda the last couple of years. They just talk about how he's just starting to mature as a hitter. Jose Urena starting to get ready, and he was scheduled to be the first guy out of the chute tonight, depending on the game.
The Mets have a pair of runs, but I think for Latos and the Marlins, just the fact that he's here in the 5th. So in 72 pitches. The 2-2. Duda was way out in front.
Well, the first hitter due up for the Marlins when they bat in the 6th is Matt Latos. So obviously, Mike Redmond wants to get him through this inning. And when you have a young pitcher in the bullpen who, for the most part, has been a starter in his minor league career, you want to give him enough time to get ready.
That is a great point. You talk to guys who are starters and then arrive at the big leagues and get the assignment to come out of the pen. For them, it's a real challenge because starters process is sometimes 25-30 minutes. Obviously, you don't have that type of time when you're a reliever.
And ideally, you'd like him to start an inning as opposed to bringing him in with men on base.
He went. Saltalamacchia digs it out and tags him out. And Matt Latos finishes the 5th. Going 1-2-3. Mets right now up 2-0. Is back, and the Marlins get him tomorrow. Tom Kohler, who relishes facing the Mets, his hometown team. It is Kohler and Harvey, and it's tomorrow, a 12:30 start for Marlins Live.
They'll be coming in from New Rochelle to see Tom Kohler. Well, a job well done, I think, and certainly saw a great improvement in the outing of Matt Latos tonight.
To first, and Duda picks it up.
5 innings, he could have gone more, but with the situation of the game, down by 2, Mike Redmond kind of forced a pinch hit. But 5 strikeouts, just 1 walk, and gave up just 2 runs. So, boy, you've seen improvement in each start, and that's a good sign.
You saw Reed Brignac with the pinch hit appearance. 5 innings, 6 hits, the 2 runs. Now Gordon is up. If you're just joining us, D. Gordon has 2 hits. He's 2 for 2. If this game took place 2 years ago, he's 0 for 2.
That's a great point.
Because
ask D. Gordon after the game about replay.
Actually, he's 1 for 2. That's my bad. Because remember, the first one he was called safe. The Mets challenge, they lost that challenge. The next one he was called out, Marlins challenge, he got the hit. So he'd be 1 for 2. But his at-bats have taken almost, about 6 minutes? 3 with the 2 challenges?
Yeah, the one was 3, the first challenge, second challenge over almost 4. So, yes, almost 7 minutes.
Just think how, it's amazing. Almost 7 minutes, and it takes him less than 4 seconds to go from home to first. So he's been on twice. For all the woes that the Marlins have had this year, none of them involve D. Gordon. Gordon with 2 hits has upped his average to 362. Liner to left, and it's in for a hit. Michael Kadire picks it up.
Well, D. Gordon has been the Marlins offense tonight. That was well struck. Another good AB.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. We have lost a few cameras. They are down, and so we will work to bring you the best coverage that we can without a couple of main cameras that will make it challenging, certainly. Our folks in the truck are very skilled. Tommy and I can always break into a radio call if you need us. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Yelich.
See if Yelich makes that adjustment that we were talking about. So far, he's seen a couple of off-speed pitches down. Remember, he struck out twice on elevated fastballs.
DeGrom misses up, and the Marlins are a ball away from getting a pair of runners on before Giancarlo Stanton stands in. At the knees. All right, you've seen the two at bats previous. DeGrom has gone one place to get the two strikeouts.
He's going to go there again. Because right now, his fastball is fooling Christian Yelich.
Yelich bounces it into center. Gordon was not running, and for some reason, Murphy broke to second. Gordon started and then stopped, and Murphy bought it, and he shifted to his right. That opened the door. Murphy pounding his chest. My bad.
Look at Murphy there. And the other thing about the pitch, he did get the fastball, but DeGrom didn't get it up. It was more in the wheelhouse of Christian Yelich. So sometimes a little fake, a little anticipation. Murphy thought Gordon was going. He didn't. And he probably would have caught that ground ball had he stayed his ground.
So it's Stanton and DeGrom. Our Toyota trend. Last 5 games against the Mets. It ties Marcell Ozuna's 5-game streak against the Brewers for the longest active streak against an opponent. It ties the all-time record against the Mets. Quite honestly, the Marlins will take a garden variety single here.
Absolutely. A lot of people asked with Giancarlo breaking Dan Uggla's club mark of 154 home runs, how many games it was done in. Uggla, it took 776 games to hit his 154.
1-0 pitch.
Stanton 155 in 644 games, so about 130 games less. That really puts it in perspective.
2-0. It's in, and it's 3-0 now.
Yeah, it's amazing. With 2 men on, it looks like he's really being careful. It looks like he's pitching to Stanton with a base open. That fastball missed in. That's where Darno wanted it, on the inner part of the plate. That's where he set up.
There's a strike, and it's 3-1. Stan, a good swing, popped foul. back behind the screen.
Looks like he got a breaking ball, too.
DeGrom with a full count.
Well, let's see. You start thinking. Does he go to his bread and butter fastball up, or does he come back with another breaking ball to Stanton?
First and second, one out. 3-2. Got in. Fastball that rides in.
He bore that fastball down and in. Kept it middle of the plate. Just ran it in. Probably off the plate. Darno sets up. Fastball in. It is. And look how far off the plate it is. But Stanton just couldn't lay off of it.
Now Prado. Gordon at second. Yelich at first. And DeGrom starts with a strike. Prado late on the fastball.
Well, he got a lot of great speed, too, on the bases. A gapper or a double down the line. It'll be a tie game with the speed that's out there.
Outfield towards right center. They're not real deep. Fastball up, popped up. Duda makes the catch. And Jacob DeGrom pitches out of a first and second spot, and the Mets hold the 2-0 lead.
We know that the guys had a players-only closed-door meeting earlier today, so I've been keeping an eye on the dugout, and at this point, it is business as usual. And no real surprise there. Michael Morse told me, look, we're going to have a lot of meetings throughout the course of this season, so we really don't need to make a big deal about this one. So, Rich, kind of a casual feel in the dugout right now. Seems to be business as usual for these players.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Matt Latos goes 5 innings. Marlins pinch hit for Latos to start the top of the 6th. Bottom of the 6th, Jose Urena. is in. You can see Ureña's numbers in his minor league career.
Well, we saw the 23-year-old make his debut in Atlanta and look very calm, threw the ball extremely well. He's come up the Marlins minor league system. He has been steady. He's thrown the ball well.
Kadire to deep center, over the head of Ozuna, off the wall, still in play. Kadire settles for a double. That was a bolt. 7-game hitting streak for Michael Kadire.
And now 12 in a row against the Marlins. He had struck out his previous 2 times. He was handled by Matt Latos pretty well. But this ball, there's an example of a veteran hitter. He's never seen Ureña before. And in his mind, he probably said, okay, he's going to start me with a fastball. I'm going to be ready for it and put a good swing on it. And he certainly did.
In this series, this is a situation where we've seen the Mets excel, and that is getting a runner over and getting him in. Daniel Murphy 0 for 2, just bounced out, struck out.
Yeah, Ureña last year pitching for AA Jacksonville was a 13-game winner, 13-8.
And he's been a starter almost his entire minor league career. His first year in the Dominican League. And in Greensboro, he made 5 relief appearances. Up the middle, Echeverria to his left, behind the bag. Gets the out.
Well, once again, and a couple of times in that situation, it's been Daniel Murphy, the hitter. And once again, he gets the job done and gets Kadire over to third base.
Now Eric Campbell, infield will come in.
And that's really something that shows me when you're all in for your team. There's a guy hitting in the 160s. He's off to a poor start, but he's sacrificing himself to get the runner over to third.
Campbell's been on base twice. He's singled and walks. Ureña throws strike 1, and it's 0-1. The minor league numbers you saw and we've talked about got better as Ureña got older. Line to right, base hit. Get him over, get him in. The Mets have done it quite well here in these 3 games.
Some might say, well, he would have probably scored if he were at second. But I tell you what, first of all, he might not have because the ball was hit hard. But it's such a different feeling for a hitter. When you're up there, infield comes in a little bit, it just feels better.
Now Legatus. Ureña and Justin Nicolino are the 2 top pitching prospects in the Marlins organization. Nicolino, the lefty. He arrived in the flurry of activity that the Marlins made after that 2012 season. Popped up. Saltalamacchia makes the catch, and there are 2 outs. I don't know that the Marlins expected 7 innings out of Matt Latos after his first 2 starts yielded just 4 innings. But a pattern is emerging, Tommy, and that's trouble.
Yeah, and the trouble when you see the bullpen innings, 5th most in the major leagues, walks issued, that is not good. But all those innings, all the pitches thrown by the bullpen, come June, it's going to be a ragged pen, and something's going to have to be done about it. One of the guys off limits tonight is Sam Dyson because he's been used so much, especially in the first 2 games of this series.
And so Ureña, kind of a long guy here. If he pitches well, he may end up going multiple innings, depending on when his spot comes up. And Flores belts one to left. That's deep. It's gone. A 2-run homer in a 3-run inning. Wilmer Flores, his second homer of the series.
See what pitch he gets. Fastball middle in. I'm actually still amazed at a guy who against everybody else is about a 220 hitter. It's his 4th career home run against the Marlins in 12 games, and he's hitting over 350 against the Fish.
DeGrom up the middle. Gordon has it. Inning over, but not before the Mets greet Jose Urena with 3 runs on 3 hits and another Wilmer Flores home run. Kadire, Wilmer Flores have been big bats for the Mets. Our T-Mobile game changers. How about Michael Kadire? Against the Marlins, going back to his stint with the Rockies. It's a 12-game hit streak. And look at this series. Driven in 3 with 5 hits. Tommy just documented the Wilmer Flores tale of the tape and what he's done at Miami's expense. So your T-Mobile game changer, Michael Kadire.
Well, you think about it this way, too. They're doing it without David Wright, and Curtis Granderson's 0 for 10 in the series.
I mean, Curtis Granderson's hitting $140 right now. And the Mets, with a 5-0 lead, can smell their 7th straight win right now.
Right now, too, Jacob deGrom carries a 17 1/3 inning scoreless streak with him as he starts this 7th inning.
Morse to right. Granderson makes the catch. Bring your group to Marlins Park. All kinds of stuff to do. If it's a meeting, networking, any type of reception, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, you got it. VIP hospitality and suites available. And you can customize your hospitality event with food and beverage. Maybe Tommy Hutton come down for a meet and greet and go over the hook slide or something like that.
Be happy to do that.
Ozuna swings and misses. Marcell Ozuna's in a real rut right now. He is 0 for his last 13. with 9 strikeouts. But he breaks it with a cracking single into left.
Yeah, that's a good swing. You hope that at that point that gets things started in the right direction for Marcell Ozuna. He's a better hitter than he's been. That's good. Told you too, DeGrom's ERA, which is going down in 11 starts here at Citi Field coming into this game, was 1.56.
Jared Saltalamacchia at 0 for 2.
Calvary Christian Academy before headed on to Stetson. It's up in Ormond Beach.
The Hatters.
Yeah, Stetson in DeLand, but Calvary Christian in Ormond Beach. And a pretty good pick to get a guy who settles in as your number 2 starter in the 9th round.
That one off of Kadire, picked up by Murphy. Kadire's back at first, and the shift captures Jared Saltalamacchia right in its jaws.
Not too often.
3-4-3.
Yeah, not too often do you see that and put it in your scorecard. 3-4-3.
Oh, you know what? It was actually Eric Campbell who was over in that shift, and so we're being told it's 3-5-3.
But see, if I put, this is how people have asked how you do this. If I put 3-5-3 in my book, that would totally confuse me in a couple weeks.
You'd think,
maybe tomorrow.
You would think the ball would ricochet across the diamond,
yeah,
and then he'd throw him out.
So I'll keep it at 3-4-3. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Essentially, people keep score so they can look and see what happened. Echeverria has singled and bounced out. Ichiro is on deck. DeGrom approaching 100 pitches.
You would think this early in the year this would probably be his last inning, but you never know.
Echeverria probably had the best swing of the night for the Fish. He hit a shot into right field, base hit back in the 3rd. This is the Marlins offense very much like the ticket situation here tonight. Scattered singles.
Well, they're into their 15th inning without scoring a run. Remember the run the Marlins scored last night was a first inning home run by Giancarlo.
1-2. Echeverria to right. That's pretty well hit. Granderson going back at the track makes the catch. Miami strands a runner. 7th inning stretch in Flushing. 5-0 Mets. And the Mets have responded, trying to capture their 7th straight. Fireworks after the game and a 5-0 New York lead in the bottom of the 7th. Tommy Hutton dancing to the Italian flavored 7th inning stretch. As the Mets and their fans are feeling pretty good right now. Jose Urena gets Curtis Granderson, Travis d'Arnaud, and Lucas Duda. On the ground, D. Gordon fires to first in time.
Yeah, I think there are more tonight in the stands. Last night, 38,753, and that's going to be above that tonight.
Here comes d'Arnaud. Urena into his 2nd inning in relief. Matt Latos went 5. For the most part, I think the Marlins are going to be pretty happy with Matt Latos. As we talked about, tough to really judge. His first start was certainly not a good one. Just 2/3 of an inning, he got rocked. And then in and around the rain delays, 4 innings and 3 runs. So for a starter who came in 2 starts and threw just 4 2/3 innings, Miami probably stretches him out for 6 innings if his turn doesn't come up in a 2-0 game.
Without question. And I think everyone was pleased with the job that David Phelps did in the ball game last night.
Foul back. Phelps in last night's ball game, 4 2/3 innings. Remember, he'd been in the bullpen since starting in spring. A hit, a run.
So he'd like to build on that, stretch it out with each start after. So a good way to begin it last night.
Saltalamacchia, some swirling winds, makes the play. 2 outs. Duda doubled in the first. He's had a rather large series, 5 for 11 with 2 doubles. Buddy Carlisle in the bullpen, joining the left-hander. The Nationals lost 5-3. Phillies beat them. Atlanta lost. So not only can the Mets stretch their win streak to 7, stretch their record to 9-3, they can put a little more distance between themselves and Atlanta.
I think the note in that Nationals game, the losing pitcher Jordan Zimmerman is 1-2 with an ERA over 6. So Jordan Zimmerman not off to a good start. Bryce Harper hit a monster home run in that game, though, for the Nationals.
Zimmerman, though, is off to a better start than Kyle Loesch, who gave up 6 runs, 6 innings, and ERA over 10 now for Loesch, as the Pirates are beating the Brewers 6-1. Yelich makes the catch. 7 innings have passed, and it's all Mets tonight. Greg bringing you high definition highlights, all Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, there's been a whole lot of it. We've seen sliders for strikeouts, a lot of high fastballs for deGrom. 8 strikeouts in the ball game for the 26-year-old right-hander. 7 innings, allowed 6 hits, no runs, and did not walk a batter. Impressive night for the Met righty Jacob deGrom.
Sean Gilmartin arrives on the scene. Gilmartin, a former first-round pick of the Atlanta Braves, and a Florida State Seminole, coming from Southern California. Boy, what an interesting path as you see Jeff Baker standing in. Baker gets the pinch hitting call here in the 8th.
They hit a kid from Southern Cal. You think of Long Beach State, maybe Pepperdine, maybe USC or UCLA.
Or oftentimes you see a kid from Southern California or even Northern California go to Miami. A Ryan Braun type. Baker fouls it. Mets took him in the Rule 5 draft this December. He was then property of the Minnesota Twins.
A lot of off-speed stuff, change-ups. That last pitch to Jeff Baker. Hard to get it going when you have had very few plate appearances. And I think one of the impressive things about Baker, he's 0 for 2. But that's his 3rd walk. And so when you don't get a lot of plate appearances, it's hard to zone in on the strike zone, but he's been pretty good and he's drawn 3 walks.
I think anybody other than Jacob deGrom looks good to the Marlin hitters right now.
There, deGrom worked 7 innings, didn't walk anybody. Gilmartin walks the first batter he faces. But I would imagine he's just in here for Gordon and then Yelich.
Eight strikeouts in those 7 innings for Jacob deGrom. His earned run average is 0.93.
And he has a scoreless streak now of a little over 18 innings.
Buddy Carlisle in the bullpen. Gordon, another line drive. This one's going to get in the gap. This one's going to the wall. Baker racing for 3rd, and they will send him. Bake's not stopping, and he scores.
Boy, have a night, D. Gordon. 4th base hit.
Line drive double. D. Gordon has actually driven in 7 runs this year.
And getting this one off the left-hander, and with the outfield playing shallow the way they do with Gordon up there, you get one in the gap that has a little zip on it, it's going to find its way all the way to the wall. And that allowed Baker to score.
Now Christian Yelich.
Yeah, Gordon's 2nd on the club in RBIs.
So he's at 2nd. Miami's on the board, but down 5-1. Yelich singled in the 6th. He struck out the first 2 times he faced deGrom. Gilmartin bounces it up there. Gordon hesitates, now goes back. The ball was sitting behind Yelich. Darno couldn't see it.
Nor could Gordon either.
Dan Warden, the pitching coach, is on his way out. And the last thing the Mets want to do here is ruin a night like the night DeGrom had, 7 shutout innings.
Well, and the other thing that I'm sure they would not want to do, they might if they have to, is use their closer, Juris Familia. He's been pretty busy lately. Picked up the save in the ball game last night and the night before.
Want to know the count to Yelich. Almost 42,000. It's a sellout. I believe I heard second sellout of the year. And Tommy's favorite dog barking hot dog vendor is below us.
Always gets your attention.
Normally it's easy to hear him here, but with a sellout crowd, there he is.
Yeah, we've had some nights here where early in the year there hadn't been a whole lot of people. And yeah, he's very easy to pick out.
Yelich swings and misses. It's not often you see Christian Yelich strike out 3 times in a game, but he does that tonight. Terry Collins is out. Pitch and change coming up. Buddy Carlisle is already on his way in. Start the clock. West Kendall Toyota call to the bullpen. Marlins all season 2015. MLB.com at bat, #1 app for live baseball. At bat, up to the moment, in-game highlights, look-ins, reviews, replay reviews. MLB.com at bat, your smartphone or your tablet. This is Buddy Carlisle, who has been around. He finds himself in the Mets bullpen, and that's as close as Stanton has come to wearing one. That pitch up and in. And the count is 1-1. Stanton continuing to wear the face mask against right-handers. Carlisle misses out.
Buddy Carlisle, Rich, is 37 years old. He's in his 20th year as a professional. And he's never had a complete full year at the major league level. Been with many different organizations.
Major League Baseball players, for their pension and seniority, are measured by service time. Just looking at where he's been, how much service time do you think Buddy Carlisle has?
Well, you would think 8 or 10 years, 12 years maybe.
Stanton swings and misses.
4 years. All that time.
Yeah.
He has persevered.
Since 1995, when he became a professional. Stanton with a count 2-2. Swing and a miss. And he strikes out. Frustrating night for Stanton. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And here is Prado.
There's been a lot of frustration in that Marlins dugout, in the clubhouse.
And of course, the Marlins are facing Matt Harvey tomorrow, having dropped the first 2 of this series and trail here 5-1 in the 8th. Tom Kohler for Miami.
Yeah, you have Christian Yelich, you pointed out, struck out 3 times. Giancarlo has struck out 3 times. And you get Matt Harvey tomorrow.
On the ground, Campbell across the diamond, and Buddy Carlisle finishes the 8th. Miami's on the board, but they trail it 5-1. South Florida Honda dealers. And by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. Just a great shot of Manhattan. The city all lit up. Just a gorgeous day today, too. And quite comfortable tonight. These fans here, a sellout, second sellout, getting ready for a fireworks show. Brad Hand takes over for Miami. Matt Latos for 5, Jose Urena for 2.
If you think about one thing, it's helped the bullpen. It's a negative because of the score, but there are guys down that bullpen that may have worked tonight depending on the score, but stays this way, they're getting a night off.
Kadire struck out twice, doubled. A pair of Met home runs. Travis d'Arnaud, his second of the season. Wilmer Flores, his second of the series. The Mets in this series so far have received 5 RBIs and a pair of homers from Wilmer Flores. Here comes a 2-1. And with a high fastball. Carlos Torres. Tapper. And that's going to be a base hit for Kadire, who has done a little bit of everything in this series, hasn't he? Driven in runs, he's moved runners. He's got 2 hits here, a 7-game hit streak.
Had an infield hit like that against Sam Dyson that brought in a run.
You know, it's funny, we've talked about throughout the night, the Marlins pen has worked. And the focus on the Mets starting pitching. But you look back for the Marlins, yeah, they only got 4 2/3 out of David Phelps last night. That one fouled off. But Miami only scored 1 run last night. Matt Latos threw 5 innings tonight, but the Marlins only have 1 run tonight. Yelich wandering back, makes the catch, and the first out here in the 8th. Eric Campbell now, Mets third baseman. He's got a pair of hits, scored a couple runs, knocked in 1.
Oh, you talk about scoring runs, hitting home runs. Marlins have hit just 6. They're tied for last in the league, and I don't think you might not guess the team they're tied with. Each with 6 home runs.
Slowly hit, Etch. Ooh, wow. D. Gordon, let's hope he's okay. That throw kind of hung Gordon up. I don't think there was anything dirty about the slide. Just Gordon, the speed of the ball as well contributed.
Timing was off and the feed was not a good one. So I mean, yeah, it's a 5-1 game. It's a little thing, but it's a double play ball. Campbell hit that ball. I was getting ready to write down 6-4-3, but the timing was off. The feed was a poor one, and you're right. It really hung out D. Gordon. He's lucky that he's okay.
Perry Hill will tell you when a second baseman like that is set up on the back of the bag.
And that's a veteran slide, too, by Michael Kadire.
He's expecting the throw to be on the back of the bag so he can use that bag as protection. But when it draws him across the bag, he really exposes him.
And by the way, the other team with just 6 home runs?
Not the Rockies.
The Philadelphia Phillies.
Wow. I think Chase Utley hit 2 of those in the same game the other day. Juan Legatus. Two and 0. Rockies and Dodgers tonight. Both of those teams at 7 and 3. And they're tied 1-1 in the second at Dodger Stadium. Ball in the dirt, and it bounces back out Hand's way. Campbell moves up. San Francisco is at 3-9. The defending world champs have a 1-0 lead over Arizona in the bottom of the second.
The Giants have lost 8 straight.
Little tapper. Saltalamacchia pulls Morse off the bag, and Campbell never stopped. He'll score.
I don't need to say it. You just saw it. A lapse in Echeverria on what should have been a double play, and a lapse on a throw to first base on a ball that should have ended the inning. I don't need to say any more.
Now, in watching the replay, was Legaris inside the baseline? A little, but the throw is so wide. The umpires right now are coming over. I don't know that anyone is challenged. I didn't see that. The umpires can look at the video themselves.
You're good, Rich, with the interpretation, and this one I'm not sure. If a guy is inside by a tick, but really had no bearing or interference on the throw, can it be called?
Usually it is.
Because that had no bearing on the throw.
And I'll tell you why, Tommy, because look how far out Saltalamacchia is.
Yeah, he's got a great angle.
He's got a great window and an angle to throw.
Yeah, I don't think they'll call that.
Or are they challenging that Morse kept his foot on the base? Which... So the Marlins are challenging. My guess is they're challenging that Morse's toe stayed on the bag.
It stayed on the bag.
As big as Morse is.
A lot of times it appears that a first baseman comes off the bag when he actually does stay on. But
he's out.
He's out.
Well, the Marlins have done one thing right tonight. Actually, two things.
It's the only thing they've done right tonight.
They've won 2 challenges. William Morse. With a smile on his face. So, to the 9th, it's 5-1. Mike Morris at first. Here's another look.
He's such a big, tall guy. He's able to stretch. Ball and back of glove. Foot was still on there. The toe was. A lot of shorter first basemen are pulled off on this throw, but he's able to stretch. There it is. Now he can come off, which he does, but he already has the ball.
And Morse will lead it off. Couple changes for the Mets. Kurt Neuenhuis is in defensively for Michael Kadire. And on the mound, out of the bullpen, is Carlos Torres. Last opportunity for Miami tonight. Morse, Ozuna, Saltalamacchia. The Marlins have won their 2 challenges. The Mets lost theirs on the very first hitter of the game. But it hasn't seemed to matter here tonight. For Jacob deGrom and the hottest team in the National League, the New York Mets. 3 outs away from their 7th straight win.
The Marlins would take the 6-1 lead, though. Forget about the challenges. They're 5-1.
Morse sends it to center, hits it well. Lagares goes back, looking up, and it's gone. Michael Morse, just to the right of the 408. Second homer on this road trip. Second homer of the season, and Morse makes it 5-2.
Hang in there, folks. Stranger things have happened. Slider out over the plate. Michael Morse with those strong arms, those long arms, likes pitches out in that area. Put it a long way.
Torres misses in. Pitches down low. And the question here, can the Marlins force the Mets to get Familia heated up, which might preclude him from being available tomorrow? Torres has gone 3-0 on Ozuna. It was 1 for 3. Base hit in the 7th was a single. Letter high strike. Ozuna into left field. That's a base hit.
Hey, in the last 2 ABs for Marcell Ozuna, 2 hard hit balls. So a good sign. And he keeps things going. And now Ichiro is going to pinch hit. Another slider. So Morse hit a slider for his home run, and Ozuna takes care of the slider for a base hit.
Dan Worthen is out to talk to Torres. I think he's out to buy some time. Mets bullpen is active now. And Ichiro pinch hitting.
And Ichiro pinch hitting for Jared Saltalamacchia.
It's Eric Goodell. So it's not Familia. There's a lefty up in their bullpen as well, in the Mets bullpen.
He could be off limits tonight. Sometimes a manager doesn't want to tip his hand and tell everybody about that.
No.
But that could be the case.
With the protective cap is the lefty in the Mets pen.
Alex Torres.
Fastball up.
Or that last year when he was with the Padres.
He did. 1-0 to Ichiro. It's a strike. Saltalamacchia 0 for 3. And Ichiro pitch hitting for Miami's catcher. Carlos Torres is out in front 1-2.
So the Mets with an Alex Torres and a Carlos Torres.
Struck him out. Ichiro goes down. And that's the first out of the ninth. Checkers presents Marlins Live. Jacob DeGrom. DeGrominators, one of the signs said. D. Gordon having a big night here. He's 4 for 4.
D. Gordon's upped his average to .388 with his 4 for 4 night.
JT Realmuto is on deck at Chivarria. A single, lined out, bounced out. And he smokes one into left field for a base hit. So Miami is going to bring the tying run to the plate. And it's JT Realmuto. I don't know that he's going to face Carlos Torres, though.
Torres has left a lot of sliders out there, very hittable. Good to see Etch with a couple of hits, Ozuna with a couple of hits.
Well, no one's coming up the steps of the dugout. So Terry Collins.
No, he's got the left-hander ready, Alex Torres, for the top of the lineup with Gordon and Yelich.
Realmuto pinch hitting. Whoa, that almost hit him, and everybody moves up. A very wild pitch. Now everyone is here still of a sellout crowd. There's a fireworks show to follow, and they're growing a little restless. They were ready to celebrate a Mets win about 10 minutes ago. A very wild pitch. Still a 3-run Met lead. And he dots the corner with a slider.
That's just not fair when you throw one that badly for a wild pitch and then you just paint the corner with a slider on the second one. First one barely made fox tracks.
There's strike 2.
And then comes back with a good curveball. So he missed horribly with the fastball. He's thrown 2 good breaking balls, a slider and a curveball.
Realmuto has seen everything that he has in 3 pitches. And he got him with a fastball. So Carlos Torres has a couple of strikeouts. Here's D. Gordon.
Got that fastball by him, mainly because of the other pitches prior to that.
Well, he's got a lefty ready in the pen. Gordon's certainly not a home run threat.
I think Carlos Torres got a reprieve with the pitches he made to Realmuto.
One and 0. 4 for 4. The first 2 hits, a bunt single, an infield hit, were both challenged unsuccessfully by the Mets, successfully by the Marlins.
And you may be wondering if D. Gordon has ever had a 5-hit game Yes, he has, and it was against the Marlins last year.
Now Miami down to the last strike. Sellout crowd at Citi Field. 1-2. Gordon a liner into right. It's a base hit. Ozuna scores. Echeverria scores. And the Marlins aren't dead yet. It's 5-4. And here comes Terry Collins now. 5 hits for D. Gordon.
Just an incredible night. What an at-bat. 2 more RBIs. Wow.
Alex Torres coming in. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. D. Gordon has seen him, and when he came in, Gordon raced, trying to get the attention of Christian Yelich. Marlins haven't seen a whole lot of this lefty, but Gordon has, and so Gordon took it upon himself to race over to the Marlins dugout and talk to Yelich.
Well, we mentioned Alex Torres with the Padres, D with the Dodgers. So, yes, he did see him last year.
Also in on that conversation was Giancarlo Stanton. The fact that he's seen him as well could lend itself to a stolen base. Marlins down a run, 2 outs in the 9th. Torres wearing the safety cap that has been designed for pitchers. Gordon has a good lead. And Yelich takes strike 1. Games with San Diego.
That cap, Rich, looks different than the one he had last year. That looks like a padding wrapped around a regular hat.
Here's the 0-1. And it's a strike. One thing is for sure, he's very quick to the plate. And he's see where that pitch missed. Pitch 1 was also out of the zone.
Well, he's thrown 2 balls that have been called strikes.
It's been a rough night for Gary Cederstrom on both sides. The Ichiro strikeout, strike 3, was also out of the strike zone, according to Foxtrack. Yelich going without batting gloves. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and the game is over. And the Mets win it. Christian Yelich strikes out for the 4th time tonight. The Marlins rally, but come up a run short. Alex Torres strikes out Christian Yelich, and the Marlins rally. Dies. Marlins Live is coming up next.